At 6:04 in the morning, my doorbell camera caught a cardigan silhouette whacking my door with a clipboard like it owed her money. The first bang jolted me out of sleep. The second made my dog bark. The third made me question every life choice that led me to this subdivision. Coffee hadn't met mug yet. My day off had just been mugged. The alarm clock on my nightstand still had 23 minutes before it was supposed to go off. 23 minutes of peace, stolen by someone who probably irons her socks. I stumbled to the door in my bathrobe and slippers, the kind with the memory foam that's forgotten what comfort means. Through the peephole, I saw her. Cardigan perfectly pressed, pearls catching the pre-dawn light like tiny judgmental eyes, clipboard held like a weapon. The second thump rattled the frame hard enough that I thought she might actually break through. The third set off my motion-activated lawn flamingo, which let out a cheerful mechanical squawk that seemed wildly inappropriate for the situation. I warned through the door, my voice still rough with sleep. She announced in a sharp, commanding voice that could strip paint, HOA compliance sweep. I announced back firmly, private property. Somewhere a sprinkler hissed to life like a snake that had chosen sides. Somewhere inside me, patience died a quiet death. My name is Caleb Trent, an IT guy who prefers quiet, black coffee, and a lawn that looks like it pays its taxes on time and tips well at restaurants. I'm the kind of person who reads the manual, returns shopping carts, and has never once been late with my HOA dues. I live in Juniper Falls, a development where the mailboxes match, the sidewalks are pressure-washed every spring, and the gossip spreads faster than fertilizer on a wet lawn. The houses are cookie-cutter colonial, the approved paint colors number exactly 7, and every third house has the same dwarf Japanese maple in the front yard because that's what the landscape architect recommended in 2015. Our HOA president is Beverly, a woman who wears pearls to check her mail, power walks every morning at exactly 5:45, and has the morality of a parking ticket and the flexibility of one too. She's 53, divorced twice, and has made being HOA president her entire personality. Her house is corner lot, which she treats like it's Buckingham Palace with a doorbell. She drives a champagne-colored Lexus with a license plate that reads, Rules RRULS. I wish I was making that up. She's been on me for months about what she calls non-compliant solar glare, which is what normal people call sunlight bouncing off my windows. Apparently, between the hours of 2 and 3 in the afternoon, my south-facing windows create a reflection that she claims is disruptive to neighborhood harmony. 6 in the morning clipboard percussion was a new bit for her though, and I'll admit, it showed initiative if not basic human decency. Beverly's crusade against me escalated with the creativity of a student who didn't read the book but still showed up to give the presentation with full confidence. First, she claimed my fence was too friendly with the property line. It's literally on the surveyor's pin, certified by a licensed professional with more credentials than her entire clipboard collection. I showed her the survey. She said surveys can be interpreted differently. I asked her if she meant interpreted correctly versus incorrectly. She did not appreciate that. Then she said my garage door hue deviated from what she called suburban sand by 3 chroma points. She brought a paint swatch, held it up to my garage door in broad daylight, and took 17 photos from different angles like she was documenting a crime scene. It's beige. Beige by any planet standards, beige by any optical measurement, beige in every possible universe where color exists. My garage door was painted by the original builder with the exact paint specified in the HOA documents, but Beverly insisted it had shifted tone over time and needed repainting to match the current approved palette. The current approved palette was identical to the original palette. I sent her the receipts. She sent me a violation notice. Anonymous letters started appearing in my mailbox, typed in that passive-aggressive font that screams middle-aged vendetta and expensive printer ink. One read, Certain neighbors feel unsafe around your equipment. She meant my ladder. My aluminum 6-foot A-frame ladder that I use to clean gutters twice a year. Another letter complained about my excessive tool usage during quiet hours. I'd changed a tire at 4 in the afternoon on a Saturday. A third letter, and this one was my favorite, expressed community concern about unregistered recreational vehicles. She meant my bicycle. My 10-speed bicycle that I ride to the grocery store. She started conducting what she called safety inspections, which really meant she'd lean over my backyard fence with binoculars like a birdwatcher stalking a rare species of privacy. My neighbor Terry told me she'd asked him about my suspicious activity, which turned out to be me grilling burgers on a Wednesday. Another neighbor, Margaret, said Beverly had questioned her about my irregular schedule, apparently troubled by the fact that I work from home some days. Once, she actually stepped into my side yard, past the clearly marked property stakes. The camera saw her, her pearls gleaming in the afternoon sun, and her little measuring tape measuring my hose reel as if it were a threat to national security or suburban property values, or both. I watched the footage later with my coffee going cold, wondering what kind of person measures a hose reel and writes down the dimensions in a little spiral notebook. Which brings us back to the 6:04 in the morning percussion solo on my front door. I told her through the solid wood to leave my property. She said, in that tone that suggests she's never been contradicted in her life and wouldn't recognize accountability if it knocked on her door at 6 in the morning, that my porch wind chime violated the quiet hours clause. At 6 in the morning. At my door. While banging on said door loud enough to wake up 3 houses in either direction. The irony was so thick you could spread it on toast. Beverly produced what she called a cease and desist letter that she drafted in Times New Roman like it was a warrant from the emperor himself, complete with official-looking headers she'd probably made in Microsoft Word. She waved it at my doorbell camera, making sure I could see the HOA letterhead she'd designed herself. She started rattling the door handle, actually trying to turn it, testing to see if I'd been foolish enough to leave my door unlocked at 6 in the morning. I called out again, louder this time, "Back off or I'll fire warning shots." She laughed the laugh of someone who's never been told no, never faced a consequence, never met a boundary she respected. It was the kind of laugh that said she thought I was bluffing, that she thought her clipboard granted immunity, that she thought being HOA president meant she could do whatever she wanted. I stepped into the foyer, grabbed my compressed air nail gun from the hall closet where I keep my tools, aimed it at the dirt patch beside the walkway visible through my side window, and fired twice. PSSHT PSSHT. 2 brads sailed into the mulch like exclamation points made of steel, burying themselves in the bark chips next to my hydrangeas. Loud. Absolutely. Startling. You bet. Lethal. About as dangerous as a stapler on cardio, maybe less. The brads were 3/4 inch, designed for trim work, capable of penetrating maybe a ½ inch of soft pine if you were lucky. Beverly screamed like she'd been shot herself, like I'd fired a cannon instead of a tool that sold at every hardware store in America. She immediately pulled out her phone with shaking hands, called 911, and reported gunfire at my address with all the drama of someone reporting an active battlefield. By the time officers arrived, she'd added hostage situation for garnish, because apparently regular harassment wasn't theatrical enough. Then she handed them her warrant, that Times New Roman cease and desist letter, with the confidence of someone who thinks clipboards grant legal authority. The officers asked to see her law degree. She showed them her pearls instead. The officers reviewed my doorbell camera footage, my shiny, OSHA-approved nail gun, and the 2 heroic brads resting in the mulch like little war veterans who'd sacrificed themselves for my freedom. Then they noticed Beverly's pre-dawn trespass, her door pounding, her attempt at the handle, and a time-stamped montage of her previous fence invasions that I'd saved specifically for a moment like this. I filed a harassment and trespass report right there on my porch while Beverly sputtered objections. The officers asked Beverly to wait while they confirmed HOA authority. That's Suburban code for, you don't have any. The city code inspector, the actual one with real authority, arrived about 20 minutes later and took one look at Beverly's violation packet, which was 3 inches thick and color-coded, and called it fan fiction. He checked my fence. On the pin. He checked my garage door. Beige. He checked my wind chime. Decorative and within sound ordinance limits. He checked my ladder, still leaning against the garage where I'd left it after cleaning gutters. Completely legal. He looked at Beverly and said in the tired voice of a man who's dealt with her type before, "Ma'am, this is harassment." Beverly doubled down like someone who'd bet the mortgage on a losing hand. The HOA sued me for brand damage, reckless discharge of a pneumatic device, and, I'm not making this up, non-conforming decorative flamingo placement. My attorney, Dev Patel, a calm man who treats courtroom proceedings like chess matches he's already won in his head, filed a countersuit for harassment, defamation, illegal entry, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. He smiled when he added that last one. In court, Dev played the doorbell footage on the big screen for everyone to see, and I mean everyone. The gallery was packed with neighbors who'd taken the morning off work just to watch this unfold. Beverly's 6 in the morning percussion performance looked even worse on the big screen. You could count each individual bang. You could see her checking her watch between strikes like she was timing them for maximum annoyance. You could see me, barely visible through the peephole camera, clearly speaking through the door. My clear verbal warnings came through the audio, time-stamped and crystal clear. Then came the gentle PSSHT of pneumatic punctuation, barely audible over Beverly's continued banging. And finally, her creative 911 performance where she breathlessly reported gunfire and hostages that didn't exist. The dispatcher's confused questions were included in the recording. "Ma'am, did you see a firearm?" "No, but I heard shots." "Are you injured?" "I could have been." The judge paused the video at the exact moment Beverly tugged on my doorknob and said in a voice that made the courtroom go silent, "Miss Crandall, what part of no was unclear to you?" Beverly started to answer, something about HOA authority and covenant enforcement, but the judge held up one hand and she actually stopped talking. It might have been the first time in her life. The city inspector testified that the flamingo was within all height limits, properly installed, and, tragically for Beverly's case, adorable. He actually used the word adorable in official court testimony. He brought photos of the flamingo, measurements, and a copy of the municipal code that clearly stated decorative lawn ornaments under 36 inches required no permits or approvals. Beverly's attorney, a nervous man who looked like he'd rather be anywhere else, tried to argue that HOA rules superseded city code. The judge asked him to cite precedent. He could not. The HOA's brand damage spreadsheet was projected on the screen, and it included a column titled General Vibes, with numerical ratings that apparently I'd damaged. Someone had rated my property's vibe as a -7. Out of what scale, nobody could say. There was also a column for Neighborhood Aesthetic Harmony Impact, and one called Perceived Compliance Attitude, where I'd received a 2 out of 10. The courtroom laughed. The judge didn't. He looked at that spreadsheet like it was written in crayon by someone who'd never seen a real legal document. He asked Beverly's attorney if this was seriously being submitted as evidence of damages. The attorney said yes. The judge said, "Counsel, approach the bench," in a tone that suggested that conversation did not go well for Beverly's side. The verdict came down like a gavel made of karma. My countersuit was upheld in full. The HOA was ordered to pay damages totaling $42,000 for harassment and emotional distress. My legal fees, which came to $18,000 because Dev doesn't work cheap and shouldn't have to, were added on top. Then came the court-ordered apology letter that had to be written in sincere language not drafted by a committee, to be delivered to me personally and posted in the community newsletter. The judge specified it needed to be at least 200 words, include specific acknowledgement of wrongdoing, and be signed by Beverly herself, not just the HOA board. The judge also issued a restraining order requiring Beverly to stay at least 100 feet from my property at all times, meaning she'd have to cross to the other side of the street when she did her power walks. He mandated board governance training for the entire HOA, 8 hours of it, with a certified mediator, at the HOA's expense. And then, in what I can only describe as the legal equivalent of a chef's kiss, he ordered Beverly to personally pay $5,000 of the settlement out of her own pocket for what he called egregious abuse of process and malicious prosecution. Beverly's face went through several shades of red that probably violated her own color compliance codes. Her mouth opened and closed like a fish that had just realized it was out of water and the water wasn't coming back. She looked like someone had just told her brunch was canceled forever and all the mimosas in the world had simultaneously turned to vinegar.